What's going on, guys? Another episode of Degreeless Engineering, a channel where we engineer using experience. This episode we're talking about my 4XINNOVATIONS rear bumper on my first gen 4Runner. I kind of wanted to just talk about what I like about the bumper, what I don't like about the bumper, just so if you are looking to purchase this bumper, you have sort of a heads up. I also recently sheared off my lock pin for the actual tire carrier, which does hinge out, and I'm going to talk about how I went, or how I'm going to go about replacing that here today. So let's get to it. You'll have to excuse me, it's raining, the weather's kind of terrible, lots of pollen, allergies are killing me, but I'm just going to kind of go over how this bumper works. So it's a tubular steel bumper that bolts up to the frame underneath the truck. Pretty self-explanatory. You have a pull pin here that releases this lever here, which allows you to swing the whole tire carrier out. And typically this pin will drop into a hole on the pivot point. I was a dumbass and sheared the tip of the pin off on the mild steel version. Was able to track down a stainless steel version, which comes with the Boss. These are sold on McMaster-Carr. I'll put a link in the description below. Now, 4XINNOVATIONS does sell replacement versions of these. They were kind of reluctant to tell me. It seems like it's always like an infinity, right? They were a little reluctant to give me any kind of detail on these pins. I initially emailed them saying, hey, well, what's the thread size and pitch of these pins? Their response, and only response, was, oh, we sell these on our website. I'm like, that's great. It's not what I asked, because I know this is like a stock item on McMaster-Carr. The other reason why I didn't want to purchase it directly through them, usually there is a premium added on to that, which is fine. I'm not opposed to supporting a company like that, but I wanted to do a stainless steel version, and this is why. So over time, these trucks being in the rain, they rust up and then they start binding. They don't operate as smoothly. And of course, I can and will lubricate them from time to time, but it's just a little annoying. Now, the downside to stainless steel is it is a little softer than mild steel because of the carbon content, but not by much. And I'm pretty sure these pins are probably like 3/16, so they're relatively hard. This, again, for McMaster-Carr stainless Boss, which I'm gonna opt out of welding mine on today. I'm actually just gonna replace the pin itself because it's just threaded. Which they were able to give me that information from 4XINNOVATIONS, so I appreciate that. They told me it was threaded and told me what size it was. I figured that out on my own. So it is a 3/4 by 10 thread. What I recommend is if you are going to replace this in the future, if you need to replace it in the future, have you a 3/4 by 10 tap to chase the threads, just to clean everything out. Spray some rust remover spray in there, clean it out with a brush, and then blow it out with some air, some water, and then put a liberal amount of grease or anti-seize on the threads before you reinstall it. And that's what we're going to do today. But let's just kind of go over some of the stuff that I like about the bumper and some of the stuff that I don't like about the bumper. Okay, so let's start out from one side and just move to the other. Obviously, you got the sort of brush guard or rock slider sort of effect here. First thing, if you have a nice truck and you're just trying to keep it nice, you want something that looks cool. Of course, this does look cool, but because, and my hands are kind of fat, but because this bar or this tubing is relatively close to the body, it does make it difficult to get your hand in there, especially with a washing mitt, to wash in between the bar or the tubing and the body itself. The clearance here, while it's not zero, it's very, very tight. So that leads to an area where water can build up and it could rust. As you can see, this is bed lined. So it's a spray on bed liner. It's relatively tough. It's easy to take care of, works great. So that's my only gripe really with the side portion of it, but it does offer significant protection if you are off-roading, and a lot of you are. Next thing is you've got your latch mechanism. So typically you won't be able to do this one-handed, but I got it kind of ready for myself here. So you pull that pin, you slide this back, and it locks into another position, and this kind of pivots out. So you've got this mechanism here, it's just a hinge, pivots on that. Got this little hook assembly here that hooks onto that little Boss here, and that's what keeps it in place. And it holds on there very tight. That mechanism is great. This little rubber cushion they put on there, you know, over time it wears out. Something's better than nothing. You've got this frame standoff here, with a little bit of pad, and all that does, it sits right above that in case the tire carrier portion of it is bouncing. It doesn't rattle or hit there, so that adds a little additional support. So if for some reason you're standing on the back of this, or you add more weight by adding more attachments to this, keep that in mind. That's what that is there for. You got your tow hooks. You got 2 on the back here and here. You got your 2-inch receiver with your additional tow hooks here for your chains for towing a trailer. Extra reinforcement under here going to the back side of the receiver. So should be plenty strong to tow whatever you could ever possibly tow with this thing. With a 4Runner like this. This 22RE isn't up for much. The mounting, pretty self-explanatory, just bolts to the frame. A couple of big bolts on each side. They're bolted, look like grade 8 bolts. Got additional support here that just ties in. So all that to say, it's built very well. It's very stout. You definitely get your money's worth. I know they're a little expensive, but if you want something that looks good, that's gonna hold up for years, I will say, this is going to do the job for you. This is the pivot location. Now, typically the pin will thread into that. And as you can see, you got this steel plate that has the holes in it for the pin to drop. You got 2 different locations that you can drop the pin in. I'm not sure why. I guess it's like if you want to open up a little bit further. I've never actually taken it that far, but you do have the option to go a little bit further. And in here, you've got a very large bolt that's going through to a welded nut on the bottom side. Now, I don't know for certain if there's some kind of bearing in there. I would assume it's just probably like a bushing. I'll have to look on the website, and I'll probably put that somewhere in the video down here. Either way, so that is there for wear, for the pin to drag across, because mild steel is just gonna beat the hell out of it, because that pin is always gonna be a little bit harder than the steel they use for the bumper. So this side, much of the same as the other side, ties in exactly the same height, same difficulties with getting your hand behind there to clean or take care of business on that side. Let's look at the tire carrier portion of it. So you got your triangular frame set up here. So you got your typical tire carrier L bracket gusseted here for strength. You're bolting up to 3 of your stud holes. You got your license plate holder. I don't know if that is like a factory thing or if somebody put that on there before I purchased this truck, but I don't know if somebody put that on there or if it came on the bumper. I think that may be an option, but all it appears to be is just a steel plate that holds your license plate on, and that's all it is. So that's pretty much it for the tire carrier portion of it. So you kind of get a feel of what I like. I like the look of it. I like the build quality. I like the overall design. How everything works is very great. It would be very suitable for somebody that's doing a lot of overlanding or off-roading. There's plenty of frame space on the bumper itself to be able to attach more things like, oh, I want to put like a gas can holder or something to hold a jack, so on and so forth. The options are endless. You can, if it's metal, you can drill holes in it, you can weld stuff to it, you can do whatever you want to it. It's a great bumper for that. And I think it's very versatile in that sense. But let's get into some things that I don't love about it from a practicality standpoint. Let's say that. One, I've already told you, it's kind of hard to clean behind. Big deal, whatever. The other thing is, you can't back into any spots if you're planning on opening up the tailgate of the truck. Reason being, you can't swing the carrier out. So you always have to be mindful, do you have room to swing this out? If you have the garage door closed and you want to get into the back of this thing, you're gonna have to open up the garage, or if you're in a parking spot, and you're backed in, or somebody pulls up behind you, and you need to put some groceries or whatever in the back, supplies for your trip or whatever, you're not really gonna be able to get access to it. If you want to be able to roll the window down using the key switch in the actual back here of the tailgate, it's impossible to get there. So as you can see, it's almost impossible to even get my finger in there, much less a key straight on, because of the position of the tire carrier. So if you need to roll down your back window even, you're gonna have to swing this thing out every single time, stick your key in there, roll your window down, open up the tailgate, so on and so forth. So I ride a lot of BMX and mountain bike. One thing I really don't like about this bumper is its incompatibility with my bike rack. I have a hitch receiver type bike rack from 1UP, which is a very popular brand of bike rack. Now, I don't expect them to build and design a bumper around a specific type of bike rack, but with this 285 75 R16 wheel tire mounted on the back here, I have very little clearance for one of the actual positions for the bike, which required me to remove one of the actual wheel holders from the bike rack for it to be able to be installed. Whatever, no big deal. The other thing is I physically cannot open the bumper tire carrier to be able to get it past the bike rack, even in the folded down position, because the way it canters up by design, it won't clear this. So because the receiver is where it's at, again, I don't think it's necessarily a fault of 4XINNOVATIONS or even one-up bike racks. It's just one of those things that I think you should keep in mind if you're looking at buying this bumper. If you like to do a lot of biking, you're gonna need a dropper receiver. I would say I bought a 6-inch recently. I would say a 7-inch dropper receiver, which is pretty significant drop, in order to be able to have full function of the actual bike rack without modifying the bumper or anything like that. So that would allow you to be able to tilt the rack down, swing this all the way out. Now you still have to take the bikes off because this thing is a behemoth and it swings all the way out here, but at least you'd be able to clear the bike rack. My fellow bikers, if you're going on off-road adventures, you're bringing your mountain bike, just keep in mind, if you like this bumper and you're planning on installing it on your first gen 4Runner, you may have to get a drop receiver. Again, that's pretty much it. I don't have a whole lot to complain about with this bumper other than it being a little inconvenient sometimes with, you know, where I position the truck, making sure I have the room to be able to open it, and, you know, obviously having to open it to roll the back window down in my case, and that's not everybody's case, as well as the bike rack not being able to fit in there as designed without some sort of dropper receiver. All in all, I love the bumper. I think it looks great. I get a lot of compliments on the bumper. People love it. I think it adds a lot to the look of the truck. I think it makes it look super tough. The tire being on the back is really cool. The only thing I think I might change or would have changed with the design is maybe tilt the tire a little bit. I think that looks, I don't know, I think it looks cooler when they're tilted, and that's something I could change in the future if I wanted to. But all in all, I think the design is great. It's very tough, very sturdy bumper. I have no question that it will be able to handle whatever I throw at it. But let's get into the spring pins and how did you guys see that? How those work, and again, I'll make sure that stuff is in the description below so you guys can order your own. If you don't need them now, even if you don't have this bumper, you're planning on buying this bumper, one day you might need them. So you'll come back to this video and you'll be like, he was right. He was right. So all this is a threaded standoff or threaded bushing, just like this one here. Now this is the stainless steel version that you can get from McMaster Car. This is an identical version of what is currently there. Now this one is currently welded in. It's got the bed liner coating on it, which I'm going to redo because it does rust. That is one thing I will mention, is because you get this is a flat surface, water will build up right in this area, and you will get a little bit of corrosion on the bottom side of this threaded bushing here. This being stainless steel, I wouldn't have to worry about that rusting anymore, but I'm not going to replace that now. I can replace that in the future. So yeah, this simply just threads in that hole right there. And when the tire swings out, that pin drops into that hole there. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty simple. I chose to go stainless steel on the second one, and I'm probably going to do that one there as well. The stainless steel version is about $34 before shipping on McMaster Car. The 4XINNOVATIONS zinc plated steel, mild steel version is like $25 before shipping. So it's like been a little bit more money. Get a stainless steel one that you know isn't going to corrode in here, get all rusty, shitty looking over time, and you'll be a lot happier, I think, with that option. So that's my video on the 4XINNOVATIONS tubular rear bumper. All in all, I like the bumper. It's got the tire carrier, because where else are you going to put the tire? There's not too many places that you can put the tire. You can put it underneath it, you're losing ground clearance. You can put it in the back of the truck, you're losing storage space. You can put it on the top on a rack, you got to have a rack. That also costs money, and it's a pain in the ass to get it down. I'm 5'8". I'm not getting that big ass tire and wheel off the top of my 4Runner on the side of the road or on the side of the trail. I think this is a solid option for anybody that has a first gen 4Runner. I think you'd be silly not to get this bumper if you have the money. They are a little expensive and they come raw, so keep in mind you're gonna have to paint them or coat them. I recommend a Raptor liner or some kind of bed liner coating, just way tougher, super easy to put on, and you're not gonna worry about little imperfections, little scuffs, little scratches. Can't wait to get a house out in the country. As always, if you have any questions at all about the bumper or any questions about the spring pins, feel free to reach out in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching. This is Degreeless Engineering, a channel where we engineer using experience. What do you got? Oh, is that an RC car? Is that a Team Lozy Mini B? You want to drive it?
Yeah.
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 Is it fun? Is it fast?
Yeah.
Does good jumps?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna drive it. Can you say bye-bye? Thanks for watching.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.